This is the part that was so simple, a short sentence. Let your Mark do his job and we'll be fine. I think that's a pretty good point. See what happens. Now, on the discussion we had with Craig and Paul and myself yesterday, and sometimes we've brought this up about the rankings. We were discussing the rankings. I was going to give you the CBS top 25 preseason, whatever. Everybody has one. You can have one. All of us can have one. But there are at times you wonder about the college football standings when someone was not ranked, lost a game, and all of a sudden they show up inside the top whatever number it is, and there are fans and others, including us, that have said, what the hell is that all about? By adding a team getting another top 25 win to a team that was not ranked, they lost a game, not like it was Alabama, Georgia losing to them, and they moved up in the rankings. Here's 3 or 4 years ago, deep into the year, like early November, South Carolina had already lost 2 games and were all of a sudden promoted the 25th in the country ahead of an Alabama or Florida or Clemson game purely, and this is his opinion, so that those teams could claim a top 25 win. Now, Alabama doesn't need to worry about claiming too many of them, neither does Clemson, and Florida for the most part until recently, but that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so no, but also remember that in the middle of the season, the coaches vote and the AP votes. You know, the writers vote based on what's going on.
They do that in August. They do that here pretty soon.
But in the preseason polls, there's a lot more, especially guessing to it. I don't think that South Carolina being all of a sudden had any ulterior motives, because at that point, you know, TV's kind of out of it for the most part, unless there's a lot of, you know, TV people on that AP thing trying to push that. But yeah, if you're talking about November, we're talking about preseason polls, because right now, if you said number 2 or number 1 Alabama versus underranked Texas, which was what Texas should be, Alabama's earned that, you know, preseason number 1 ranking over a decade of utter dominance, as where Texas has earned their preseason ranking because of 2005, apparently. And that's where they are.
They played for the title in 2009.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, because of that little run, since then it's been anything but great.
Most of the time it's because they are, whoever the logo is, USC, UT. I mean, the year that Frost took over Nebraska, for God's sakes, they were ranked in the top 20 or 25, and there was no reason for that. None. And obviously they failed and fell on their face.
Well, and Texas is kind of a special case in that they have done less with more when it comes to overall recruiting talent than anybody over that stretch. They have not developed their guys.
Not most of them.
Yes.
At least it seems to be. Now, they've had some that have developed and ended up in the NFL with the lower-ranked players in their rankings.
But they have not wholesale developed guys to be better than they were than the day they got on campus. They were 4-star high school players when they got to college, and they were 4-star high school players when they left college, and that means that you didn't change in 3 or 4 years. Through a multitude of different things, but that's why Texas's problem was, because people thought eventually Charlie Strong or Tom Herman and now Steve Sarkisian, and at the end of Mac Brown, this is the group of guys who's going to get it. They're going to get through to this group of guys. But obviously Texas's problem were larger than just that. But that's why they keep becoming fool's gold, because they'll throw out a top 10 class every year. Like, okay, well, these guys got to turn out somehow, but they continue to fail to develop them beyond the point. The coach that was the most honest about this was actually Charlie Strong, he was kind of saying, look, these guys kind of come in and they don't get any better. He was critical of Texas high school, not critical, but said, you know, it makes it a little harder that, you know, Texas high schools have these kids, they're so far advanced when they're practicing the indoor and they're drinking protein shakes, and, you know, they're maybe at their physical peak when you recruit them and sign them, as opposed to, say, some of the guys that, you know, Alabama and goes and gets a kid out of Southwest in Miami, and that kid's been eating a Pop-Tart every morning because, you know, his school doesn't have all these different things.
And fighting others to get the Pop-Tart at times.
And then he goes to Alabama, they start feeding him protein shakes and getting him in a weight room legitimately. He hits his max potential, is where Texas has got that kid, and he's already kind of a stud, but your body only has so much room to grow.
And then that's part of it. But the other part of it is sometimes
entitlement.
Fit and what you do, and the coaching a part of it.
Yeah.
Mike, by the way, the year Appalachian State beat Michigan, Michigan was preseason top 5. I'll never forget the block field goal. They ran it all the way, whatever it was, back. It clinched the victory. The same year, Tennessee was preseason top 5, and they finished 4-8. Oh, no, there's some hickeys. There are a lot. We went over the top 25 from a year ago, and there was a stretch like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 had coaching changes or whatever the list that was at that particular time. I guess that was in 2007, according to Wings of Gumby. What a name. Wings of Gumby.